Oh, good. I'm glad it's working this time. I don't know what happened. It just might have been the internet or restream or who knows. I'm not. We've all learned by now. I'm not good with this. Um, I've got the redraw of the two-page spread out. If people want me to work on something else, I'm willing to do like some headshots that I got to do for the Kickstarter anyway. But or I can show you my two attempts to restart this thing. This was where we started last week. We did this on the last stream, and I went in to try to ink it, and I couldn't pull out the lines, and things were feeling stiff. I was feeling rushed, and I just couldn't get it to work for me. And I even did tried to do like a larger version of the drawing to simplify it, and I just couldn't get any life out of the character, in my opinion. Like I just didn't see what I wanted to see. So like, but I did this one last night, and it's not perfect, but it will work. And that's why I actually finished that panel before moving on to the next one rather than, starting over or whatever completely and getting ahead of myself, which was what I was doing. And what I'm going to do if we work on this today is I'm going to work on just this panel, and then I'm going to finish penciling it, and then I'm going to ink this panel, and then I'd move on to the next one. So if people would rather see like Undersea hero headshots for the Kickstarter or whatever, I could do that, but I probably should just keep working on this, and you can help me struggle through this. There's a point where I just have to let some things go, make sure it reads and that it tells the story, and just keep in mind that I never had the best finish. My strength has always been the panel to panel storytelling, not the renderings themselves. Hey Brian, good to see you. You might think this is a repeat, but it's not, because I had to like start over drawing on this spread because I just wasn't happy with it. And I'm sure most people who would look at both when they're done and say they maybe can't even tell the difference. But if people don't want to see this, I can work on, like I said, some headshots I got to do for the Kickstarter or something else. But I'm going to be inking as I go too, so it's not just exactly the same. I'm just doing it one panel at a time, finish that panel, and then move on to the next one. Can't remember. Yeah, there are lines. Hope everybody's having a good day. I don't know. Everybody has big plans for the 4th of July. Anybody in the States that is watching that has any big plans for that? Any traditions that anybody has? If they eat the same thing or if they go to the same place or something? I was just thrilled that traffic was not nearly as bad as I expected it to be on my way back from the office today. Yeah, that's entirely understandable. That's fair. Dogs with their super sensitive hearing. I've had animals that didn't like them, and then I've had animals that just didn't care. Of both cats and dog varieties in my life. The last apartment I lived in, our neighbors, like, it was a residential area, and every year they would just set off a bunch of fireworks, and it was just, like, not a great place to be doing that. And there's plenty of places nearby, like, if they wanted to go to a park or something, if they that would have been way better. Oh, and Andrew, thanks for posting that cover of the, Helena #1 with the little sketch I did. It's just one of those characters that I'll always be noodling on something with. I don't know how often I'll ever put out books, but I'll always, because I'm very comfortable drawing that character. I've drawn so many pages of her already that anytime I'm doing some like new experiment with a type of drawing or whatever, I'll oftentimes do a short story of her because I can reasonably be comfortable drawing her, and I know the end product so well. And I can see the variations if I'm doing an experiment or if I'm using a different medium or whatever. It's just fun. It's fun. It's a character I love to draw, and obviously because I draw her without anybody wanting to pay me to draw her. I don't think I've ever actually been asked for a Helena sketch at a convention. I've had people buy pre-done ones before, but I've never had anybody ask for one. This isn't the most exciting panel, but it's actually fairly important for moving the scene along because we're having our other characters show up. This is an FH Pit Pen, Faber-Castell, Feud Hard. It's got a flexible plastic tip. On a piece like this, it does a pretty good job with like the small details of mimicking the line of a small brush, and still allowing for some drawing technique. I did. I sent you Iron Face. I love. I wish the Iron Face guys would either put out or want to put out another book, or just give me permission to put out another book because I love that project so much. When it was when I was working on it, I basically told them like I want to buy a ton of copies. I'm going to be going to shows, and that's what I did. You know, and anytime I describe the book to people, usually gets people's attention. And actually, that story, if you wanted to do a read along, Andrew WK reads the story on YouTube with the writer DP on the Sour Kool-Aid show. So I don't know if you know who Andrew WK is. He's a musician. He does a lot of songs about partying hard and parties in general. Yeah, DP, Dan Paul. Yep. I haven't talked to him in a little bit. We were talking at one point about doing a new issue, but every time we get, things rolling, we all have other lives to deal with. Dan's got a family and kids, and you know, everybody on the team has like other jobs and other things. And I don't know. I'll ask him again if I could just have permission to do stories on my own time. Because next year after Undersea Hero, I would definitely just do a couple of short 18 to 20 pages, just like that comic book. Oops, there's a broken line here that I didn't intend for. Put the little rivets on. So you know it's made out of metal. It's one of those little cartoonist techniques, just giving different treatments to different surfaces. Yeah, and that Helena comic, I've got a Fred Hembeck, I've got an Yvel Guichet piece, I've got a great Eli Stone piece, I've got a Tony Salmons piece, got all kinds of pieces that I've hired friends to do over the years and artists that I've met. Um, I've got my beautiful Daryl Banks. I've got an Ernie Cologne. My good friend, the late Rich Buckler did a piece. Mike Vosberg did a piece. It's one of those characters that if I'm working on a story or whatever, I'll pay a friend of mine to do. Or if a friend of mine says they're going through a rough patch and they need a quick gig, I can always just put it in my archive and release it whenever I do another book. Let's see if we got our ruler here. There we go. Let that dry a little bit. Grab our gum eraser. Go in and take some of this out. And sometimes I have to remind myself that a simple shot. Undersea Hero, the entire first story that was kickstarted, unfortunately, it's going to be a little late. I haven't figured out exactly when it's coming out, but it's going to be a little later than I originally pitched. So I'm hoping to get a timeline together and do an update soon. But originally I had planned for August, but it's going to be a little later than that. But I'm not really working on anything else. I haven't been doing shows. It's really just been coming home and working on Undersea Hero every day. Let me just make a mark here. But we got great covers for Undersea Hero 1. We got the John Lucas. We got the beautiful Craig Russo cover. We got the Rich Woodall cover. These are full-length motion lines, so some of these have to go all the way across. Hopefully people are understanding. Yeah, moving, job, all kinds of stuff, I apologize for the excuses for being late. It's entirely on me, but it's I promise it's not for taking a vacation or anything crazy. And I hope people are understanding. Just like this, and things that happen like with this 2-page spread where I have to redraw it. I'm just not going to put out something that I don't think's. I'm not going to rush putting out something I don't think is good. Not for this. I was forced to do that too many times in my career. And that's something I pretty sure I have reached the end of ever agreeing to do anything like that again. Um, now that I have like a regular income with checks that don't bounce, I don't have to take every freaking little scrap job that can end up being like years chasing a couple $100. I was telling a story to a friend of mine the other day. There's still a couple of publishers that owe me for covers that they never paid me for years ago. And I just gave up on it because there's a point where you're using so much of your own labor time chasing a couple $100 that it's just like not worth it. That's right. Happy America's Birthday Eve. It'll also be election day in England tomorrow, so I don't know. I don't know what that says historically, deciding to have it on the 4th of July. What precedent is set there? Checks that don't bounce and checks that show up at all. That's pretty sweet, I gotta say. Not having to chase, like, Jonathan, I know you've had to hear some of my difficult stories of just getting paid for work I did. So it's one of those things in the comic book industry that I think people just kind of gloss over, that like missing out on being able to pay your bills even when you're working full time is really just not a pleasant thing to have to do, or a situation to have to be in. It's not just that you're not getting paid a lot, it's that you're not getting paid a lot and then sometimes not getting paid at all. So we're not getting paid even close to on time for, paying the car insurance or health insurance or whatever bill there is that month. So lots of talk about creators charging lots of money for their commissions, and that's par for the course with some of those Facebook groups. So most people know me. I will come most often on the side of the creators. Absolutely, yeah. Musicians, imagine working a full gig and the venue decides to say, "Oh, we'll mail you the check," and they'll just stiff you in general, or not getting paid for your rights or music usage, or you know. I will say I do have a new piece of work out in the world. I don't know if I have one on me to show you. Let me see if I got one. It's not here. I can step out and grab it. 2 shakes. There we go. I did this for the Steamship Authority. It's a little coloring kit for kids on the boats. Take it out. Comes, you can get these for free on the Steamship Authority traditional ferries. You get future ferry captain crayons. You get a button. And then this is the Future Fairy Captain's Quest. And like I said, these are all free. And it's got a maze, and I drew all the stuff on it. Like I drew the boats and the kraken, tidal waves, and then you find your way through the maze. And then there's a big coloring sheet on the inside. And then on the back, there's a if you know, it asks what the names of the boats are, and I drew all the boats. And then this one, you just figure out the differences between the two boats. So yeah, I did that at the day job. So Jonathan says, I get why creators are charging so much for commissions. It's priced me out mostly, but I totally understand why they do it. Yeah. And in the case of Jim Lee, he's probably the biggest name alive in comics now. So like, and he's had such a huge impact. But yeah, those coloring sheets are free on the boats. So if you're traveling to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard this weekend on the steamship, you can get one of those little coloring packs for free. And as someone who, rode the boat since 1986, if I was a little kid on the boat, I would have been all about it. So free crayons? Are you kidding me? But yeah, Jonathan, like with certain ones, like just, I don't know. I mean, commissions. You're hiring I try to think of it this way with Jim pricing is like you're basically paying to play one-on-one with the best basketball player in the world. Like, how much would it cost to pay, you know, who's the best Jason Tatum, who's just made $300 million, or LeBron James. So I honestly don't collect that many commissions myself either. I'm considering starting a sketchbook though for taking to shows with me and seeing if I can do some sketch trades and stuff like that. And I would want characters to draw their creator own characters. Like that would be the theme of the sketchbook. There are creators that I know like Daryl Banks who has done some independent work, but I don't know if he has a set of characters he's created. So in that case, like if you wanted to do one of his characters that he created at DC or whatever, whatever you want. But that's kind of the direction I'm thinking. And we've talked about this a lot, Jonathan. Like we both like published pages. And I was at last time I was at Wicked, the Boston show. Artist Choice was there, and I bought, I don't know, what was it, 3 pages for $50, $60. One was by Leonard Kirk, one was from Marvel Comics Presents, and then I forget what the third one was. But yeah, they were all like $15 to $20 a piece. So one of them might have been an Aquaman page. If I tag along to a Terrificon, I'm hoping that boosts there because there was one page from those boxes that there's a chunk of pages, I would say, that I would go back and I'd buy a couple more of those because they were I didn't realize who the artist was because they were very young when they drew them. So, oh, thank you, Andrew. As other creators have told me, when it comes to my commissions, I am a cheap date. Um, so I just don't offer them very often. So when I'm at a convention, I'll do stuff, but I just don't do them from home because I'm just not able to like fulfill them quick enough for people to be happy. And the only reason I do them is for people to enjoy them, and I don't want to ever make people mad over a drawing or a comic book. there was a period where I was like trying to mail out, and I think Andrew, you bumped into this, where I was trying to mail out the last of the people who ordered my Conan variant, and it just took me forever because of all my work and stuff and family stuff. And I never want to make somebody upset just over a comic book. Jonathan, I agree. I should have done it, started it a while ago. And I always enjoy looking at really interestingly themed sketchbooks. And obviously, for me, that sketchbook is not, I'm not doing those for investment purposes. And I know that going in. So I don't care what the resale is of, let's say, Craig drawing Choopy for me, I mean, I'm sure he gets a good bit of change for his originals in general. But like for me, I'm not going into that. Or like obviously Chris Campana's, making Daredevil right now, and he's done Spider-Man, and I'm sure if people wanted to buy a sketch from Chris to flip, they would want one of his famous Marvel characters. Well, I would like a sketch of either First World or Parker Reef. Probably First World. No offense to Parker Reef, I enjoy it, but I first met Chris when he was just telling me about bringing First World back, I believe. Oh yeah, jams are another good one. Yeah, jams are jams are a similar thing. Like the idea is similar. You're putting a collection of talent together in one page. I just think jams are harder because you got to have it all in one piece. And that was just my water bottle. It was not open, I promise. Um, I think jams need to have someone do the initial layout first, and I think you did this for one of yours at least. Or someone can just put a random floating head and not look at it as a composition, and they're just like filling space. So jams are hard. I've seen beautiful jams, and I've just seen jams that are just like I don't know what to think. Like your Valiant jams, very nice. Did you have someone do did you have someone do the layout? Like did you have Frankie or Hannibal or somebody do the layout? Or maybe Joe? Would you ever mail it to someone? Yeah, I thought you had Frankie lay that one out. See, I have some memory left. A little bit of memory left. Would you ever mail it out? Because somebody I actually thought of that I would trust 1,000% with a jam piece would be Mike Vosberg, and he did do Valiant stuff, and he it's easy to work with, very reasonable, just a nice guy. I find his independent output very inspiring. Losing my concentration. Well, if somebody worked for Valiant and they could, because I know you're close, right? It would. only a couple of spots left, and the criteria is basically like they had to work for Valiant. So that was just someone I thought of as I was flipping through some. I was flipping through some comics before I popped on the camera. So I don't know if you want to see the. Yeah, you can't really see the prelim from this angle. Sorry. But you guys saw me last week, strike out on this board or similar board, working on the same page. I just kept getting ahead of myself. I kept just trying to finish it rather than draw it. It's a different process. I actually think I gotta raise that eyebrow up a little bit. Yeah, you started it a while ago. And you got a few like right away. You got Joe, you got is Jim Calafiore on that one? I think Jim's on that one. He did a bunch of Valiant stuff. I actually have a Valiant page that Jim drew. Got it from Ralph. I have a surprising amount of Valiant artwork for someone who is not a huge Valiant guy. But it was a way to get less expensive art by bigger named artists for a long time. Like I was able to get, Joe pages directly from Joe from Secret Weapons that Ralph had inked, and then I got the one Ralph had inked from Calafiore on Deathmate. I got a page from Deathmate. And then I have a Bloodshot page that Vaz had drawn because he was selling Bloodshot pages at a show for like $35. And I was like, I can't not buy one of these. Or was it $25? I don't know. It was just a pittance. Oh, Sean Chen. That's a good one. Sean does beautiful work. And he's a guy who I just think continues to get better. You know who else I would put on your list for consideration? I'd put Yvel on that list. Yvel Guichet. He did hardcore for Valiant. He did some other stuff for them, I think. Maybe Turok. I don't remember. It's been so long. You're the Valiant expert. I'm just a novice. XO. Yeah, that might be an expensive one if you were to try to get a Bart Sears on an XO. I don't know who else drew XO. Other people drew XO. Obviously, Bob Layton was the inker on some of that stuff, but he's been overseas for some time now. What's up? Camille just opened the door. I didn't know if there was something wrong. She said no. Hey, Dennis, good to see you. Yeah, I had to actually start over on this spread that we worked on last week. I can't reach from where I'm at, the one we did last week, but I just wasn't happy with it. So we started over. And I've just been slowly just chopping through it rather than trying to rush through it. I think that was what happened is I tried to rush through it and just did not spend the proper amount of time on it. How are you doing? What's new? Bob Hall, there's another one. Nice guy. You want to get on his good side if you he's a Shakespearean play guy, so if you talk Shakespeare with Bob Hall and he'll warm up to you right away. We were talking about Coriolanus at Colorado Springs. I was the host on his panel because they had nobody who was like a comic person at that show to host it, so I hosted the panel for him and did a Q&A, and he talked about Shadow Man being something he was really proud of, and that was really cool. He liked working for Shooter at Valiant. He worked for Jim at both Marvel and Valiant. Oh, the new Dennis Dietrich website. You better drop the link in there so that I can check it out later. Voice actor. There any good flaky content on there yet? Well, yeah. I think you're going to need some flaky comic strips. I think that's what you're going to need. I think that's what's missing in the Bewildered Biscuit universe right there. You know enough cartoonists need to make that happen. Very cool. Excellent. That's what I like to hear. People who like comics making comics. I was actually thinking about a phenomenon today that, there's all this talk about, fandom and comics in general and books people like to read, favorite characters, people always talk about arcs they love. I can't I can't impress upon people enough how many people I've met over the years that buy comics but don't read them ever. I met so many people who don't read the comics. They just collect them, so it's more like a trading card situation, and they get enjoyment out of it, so more power to them, but it's just a totally different and, uh, it was an alien experience as it was described to me at one convention where, that's why, the proliferation of it's another thing that adds to the proliferation of grading is that if you don't need to read it, well, then it's more like a trading card at that point, and they get enjoyment out of it, but I think they miss out on my favorite part, which is the guts. You do, quite a few. And I'm a creator, so obviously, my preference is to read, but I always find it interesting to find out what people are into at shows. Like, I like to ask people like, "Oh, so like what are your favorite parts about coming to shows?" Or is this you meet tons of people that have never been to a show, so you get to tell them about your favorite part and maybe they'll go check that out. That was always fun. Just finished The Rift from Andrew Lavallo. I haven't read that one. No. I've seen Andrew at a few shows. I should pick it up. Jonathan, it's understandable. We all have stuff we got to do. So we all have a pile. Everyone has the pile. I have a pile right over here that I still need to read. Hey, have a good night, Brian. Enjoy the fireworks with everybody. Astonishing All Star. I haven't heard of that one. I adore discovering well-made, self-published or independent comics. Like that's to me and I'll actually just pick up. There were actually a couple at there's an antique store in town that has like $2 bins, and there were a bunch of comics that I wanted to pick up. I just didn't have the money for, and one of them was just random comics somebody made probably around 95 or 96. Never heard of it. Self-published, looked pretty good. I just didn't have any money for it at the time. But if it's there next time, I'll pick it up. Similar to Invincible, teen superhero out on his first day on the job, figuring out his powers. Yeah, that's a popular way to introduce characters for people. So let me know how it goes. I hope there's like a little bit of a twist or something where there's a different arc or take on it. Oh, excellent. Yes. Dennis says there is a twist. All right, cool. See, this guy picks up the creator owned content. Maybe you need to start putting out some reviews. You can just do it as like a warm up for before your voice work. You can just talk about some killer comics you read. Start throwing that out on like Apple Apple Podcast Shorts or whatever. As you're warming up your voice, getting the moneymaker going. I actually haven't been to the shop in a little while. I should go. I need to make a trip up to Rubber Chicken Man. I've been feeling an itch for that. Jay and the guys always have great stuff. I can always walk out of there with a big pile of dollar books. Although I think last time it was the $2 box that took most of my wallet because they had a bunch of like Bronze Age. But then you make it up with a few of the 50 centers, which are deceivingly good. Another comic Dennis recommends is called Destruction is Near from Spider Tank Entertainment by someone named David Mullins. I don't know their work at all, but if you say it's worth checking out, I will check it out. This is that FH pen I was telling people about. Like, if someone's nervous about trying inking with a brush for the first time, this is a great like training device. It's also good for if you're doing a smaller panel, and if you're like me and you get kind of shaky hands, it's really good for that. Today my hands were fairly steady for me. Dennis says it's a sci-fi epic featuring a kaiju, and the Earth's protector sends dragons that champions powers to fight back against evil. Jonathan's up for a rubber chicken run. This weekend I have a fair amount of family stuff I have to do, but maybe we should be like adults and make plans like 2 weeks out. We'll do it for maybe the following weekend. I don't know. I don't think I have anything the following weekend. I might try to get a haircut, but that's pretty much it. How's everything going with me? It's okay. Like I said earlier, I'm a little late on the book, but other than that, I'm working as best I can. There's a chance I'll be signing up for a convention later in the year, but no big plans to rush into that without the book being done. I basically do day job stuff, come home, and then I work on this until I can't work on it no more, and I need to like sleep. It's a weak line right there. I don't know why I did that. I'll have to fix it with some white out. And I go back in and use my gum eraser to do a little bit of cleanup so I can see better where I'm at. I want to keep that line broken, keep that line clean. Actually, got to bring this down, raise that up, pull this back across. she's singing a certain word at this point. So, am I growing a mullet? No, not at the moment. No, I'm trying not to. Trying to be better about getting my hair cut regularly. I've not succeeded at that this year. I've been kind of late every time I've had to go get a haircut, but the person who cuts my hair is like 40 minutes away. So I get like wings over my ears. Like you'll see like where my sideburns are, it'll start to like grow over my ears, and that's when I have to really like get a friggin' haircut. But on my way home, I stopped at the grocery store and picked up some key lime pie for tomorrow as a treat. So hopefully that'll be pretty good. I don't have any big 4th of July plans other than doing some drawing. I might go for a walk down on the water. That would be nice. Maybe I'll get to read some out of this. Maybe I'll get to read a couple out of the stack. Maybe I'll try to bring a couple with me to the beach. I was thinking about just going over the bridge nearby here, not too far away. Didn't have any big plans. Now this is a little crooked. I'll be able to clean this up a little bit with some white out. Trying to remain optimistic. Eyes look a little small, but It's already 9 o'clock. Hard to believe, but everybody's got tomorrow off, right? For the most part. Or some of you guys got to work. I saw the grocery store was open, so there's definitely people still working tomorrow. So if you got to work tomorrow, I hope it's an easy day. Got a fair number of people in here tonight, so welcome aboard, everybody. We're working on the Undersea Hero 2-page thread. Got a little smudge here that is going to drive me nuts if I leave it here. A little smudge right there. Kneaded eraser, and then the best thing to finish off taking out the blue pencil, I use the kneaded eraser first, and then I'll go back in with a white plastic eraser just real lightly, and it does a great job getting the end of the pencil marks off the page. At least for me it does. Some people say they have trouble with the white plastic ones. I've always liked it as like a second pass where you're not pressing down too hard. I think we gotta add a little bit more of a stronger line here. Shape it in a little bit. There we go. Excuse me. Gotta get a little water here. I think I can fix this part. Go like that. A few spots on the lily she's got in her hair. Not too many, just a few. Gives us a little bit of a try to round off the eyes a little bit better. See if we can get the circles just a little bit more circular. See if my white plastic is here. Yeah, just a simple white plastic. Nothing too crazy, and it's real light. You can see it gets the end of that stuff off. Don't want to press too hard because it will pull up some of your ink lines. In which case you got to go over them again, which can suck some of the life out of the drawing. Flip this over and take a quick look. Yeah, this one on the right needs a pull, unfortunately. Hi there, Kimberly. This is just a typical Faber-Castell Pitt pen. This is a 0.3, or it's considered a small. On this drawing, we've used a Kuretake brush pen. We've used the Pitt pen. We used the FH, the Feud hard pen, which has a nice flexible tip. And we've also used the trusty Presto pen, which is the multi-purpose Pentel whiteout, which I still think is the gold standard for a whiteout pen. For some reason, this line lost some of its slickness. Let's see if we can pull it back. That looks better. Nice smooth line. It's a simple pen. The Pitt pens are pretty readily available. I think I ordered these off of Blick, the website. Now this is just me being silly. But I would like just some. Because these you're not going to see at all. They're going to be covered up by the speech balloons that'll be on the panel. This panel actually has a ton of speech balloon. It has 3 speech balloons just in this one panel. So here, here, and then here. And then there's actually some sound effects in between. So like much of this piece is going to be covered up when we finally get the balloons in. So. Like I said earlier, this is a good pen. The FH Faber-Castell Pitt pen is a good pen that if you want to try a brush out for the first time and you're nervous about it, it functions very similarly. So if you ever wanted to give that a test, you could give it a shot. I would like to draw a singing eel tonight, so let's go to that panel instead. Let's go to a singing moray eel panel. That sounds like something I want to draw tonight. Otherwise, I'm just going to get bored of something. And you're going to just get bored listening to me or watching me do the same stuff over and over again. So here we go. We've got Eel right here, and he's singing his rebuttal to her part of the song. So that's what we're going to work on. We're doing fun stuff, so we want to exaggerate the eyes. Has anyone ever seen a moray eel? Maybe at an aquarium or out in the wild. Like they're all over. If you've ever gone snorkeling down in Florida, or even just to the beach. And then there are like backup singers that are pufferfish in the background, which not too original, but I thought they would be easy to draw, and I think people would understand like how they can sing. Got his little bow tie. Eel wears a bow tie. And then we have his microphone, which is similar to Morena's, but Morena cannot, or excuse me, Eel doesn't have any hands, so like he can't hold the microphone. Very simple, classic radio microphone. And here's like the wire. I'm getting tired, but drawing a singing eel is a good way to maintain the interest. We just got a bump in folks showing up, so welcome aboard. We're on episode 104. 104. We've done this 104 times. My God. Insanity. Madness, as my friend Jay would say. Madness. And I did post a picture of the pinup piece that I worked on with Jay on the 100th episode. I couldn't bring it on the show with me because he had to take it with him to scan, but you can hop over to my Facebook or Jay's Facebook or Instagram or wherever, and you can see the finished collaboration. And I think he's trying to have it out in the fall. I think he's got a new horror anthology, and Jay likes to put out a horror anthology every year around Halloween time. So I would imagine that's what it's for. But if you follow his page, he can guide you through the Jayness of the Jayniverse. Jay's an incredibly prolific artist. He puts out books all the time, just constantly has new material going out there. I even don't have all the books he has put out at this point. Like he's put out so many. Like Singing Eel. Yes, that is the stupidity you came here for. It's the kind of thing that honestly kept me interested in making this book. It's like, why would anyone want a comic book with eels that sing? I said, well, I would. I would like to see what that looks like. I've never seen a comic book with a singing eel in it before. Maybe I can get CBCS or CGC to put that on the label. First eel singing in comics. A milestone, really. A milestone that clearly will be the shape of things to come in comic books. Stupid panels like this are what are going to get me through such a long project. Because again, we're thinking about logical ways for sea creatures to be putting on an ensemble musical performance, and in the case of having backup singers that are blowfish, they don't have hands either, so we hang their microphone from the ceiling so that they can sing around it. All right. Let's work on this panel border here. I guess you guys want to see the prelim as we're working on it. At least that's what I'm told. So. FH, we can start here. This might be my favorite drawing we've done in a little while for the UH. Glad you guys get to see this panel because it's been a little while. Like I've been feeling the stress of this project pretty heavy. So like sometimes it's not as fun. Right now I'm having a lot of fun drawing this. If you've ever seen a moray eel, they are very slick and very slimy, but they also when they like turn, because of how they're actually like their anatomy, that you can actually see like little wrinkles in their skin when it bunches up. So like if you're wearing a tie, if you're a moray eel, there's going to be like a little bit of skin that is there that looks like it's bunched up. We got to be coming up on Shark Week. That's always a big week in the studio here. First singing moray eel in comic books. I could live with that as my legacy, I believe, in in the superhero genre. This is that dried out pen that I keep picking up. Need to throw that in the trash. But I think I owe a couple of people some emails. I will try to catch up on those tomorrow, I guess. I was hoping to just take tomorrow off, but such is the life. Maybe I can do those over breakfast before anything happens during the day. Don't ask me how he ties his bow tie. I assume he just swims into it real fast and it ties itself somehow. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like he's got a method of swimming that also ties a bow tie somehow. For our background singers, we pretty much just need pens. So (9:26). Maybe we'll get this done by 9:30. That would be nice. There's no lighting on this panel. There must be a reason. It must be all. Yeah, again, there's a big, large amount of text that'll be accompanying this. I don't know if you can hear Bruce. He's yelling like he tends to do. There's our first backup singing pufferfish. Michael says he should be getting some brushes in later this week. Then I can start painting using acrylic gouache on hot press arches. Using fancy stuff. Look at you. Look at you, Mr. Fancy Pants, with his fancy paper. His fancy arches paper. No, it's great stuff. I'm sure you'll come up with something. It'll come to you. It'll come to you. You'll come up with a great idea, and then you'll be like, "I can't believe I was ever worried about this." And then it'll be something that you'll be like, "This is pretty good, but I think I can do better." And then your second one will be better. It's the process. Now, Arches is great paper. I just can't afford it, if I'm being honest. And also, sometimes when I buy expensive paper, I feel like I have to do something expensive on it. I know that that sounds ridiculous, but I do feel an added pressure to do something with it more than what I just normally do. Like what I normally do doesn't feel like it's good enough for that paper or whatever. And I know, again, that's just my own insecurities or whatever, but it's the truth. It's a God's honest truth. Can you draw backup singing pufferfish on Arch's paper? I don't know if Arches will let you. Like they just show up at your house and arrest you. The paper police would be like, "No, you can't. No. That's just too dumb." What paper do you prefer for watercolor? Um, I haven't used gouache in a long time. If I, I use Bristol a lot, but if I had, I like the mixed media paper. It's a heavier board that Strathmore does. I think it handles my stuff pretty well, and I know the material well enough to where like I have some tricks that work on that paper. I really don't paint with acrylics anymore. If I'm going into that level of painting, I go into oils, and I'll usually do that on canvas. It's been a number of years though, so I'm not gonna pretend like on a Saturday I just pop up the old easel and paint the day away. I have not had a day to just do that in years. I would love it. Maybe that's what I'll give myself for my birthday this year. A day to paint something. Is this the point where people put the book down when they see the singing eel? Is this the point? No, it'll be much earlier. If you think this is what's going to make you put the book down, you're never going to make it to this point. The microphones, I'm not going too crazy on with the shapes. I just need it to read. So, like, if you look at it, you're like, oh, I could believe that that's a microphone of some kind. It's just a cartoon. I'm not doing photorealism. I'm not digging in. I feel like when I see Mike's stuff, he digs in a little bit. He gets those details. I get detail and I get a little busy, but I don't know if I necessarily go beyond a complex cartoon. I really don't. So it's technically an illustration, but based on my own style and everything, I tend to think of it as a cartoon. It's been since college since I've done any gouache painting. I know it became popular again for a little while because some of the bigger name artists were using it from comics and some illustrators. I find watercolor just to be a little more chill, and I feel more confident with it. Um, I am going to be doing a watercolor cover at some point soon, which I'm hoping I don't lose my mind on that. If I can keep this level of relaxed through the rest of this 2-page spread, I'd be real happy. All right, all we got to do is fill in that little area, and then we got to clean it up a little bit with our erasers, and then we will call it a night. It's a little late, but I wanted to finish this panel because I was feeling good about it, and everybody was being nice, and a nice conversation with Mike here tonight, our fancy painter. All right. Let's get our little gummy eraser so we can clean up our backing singing blowfish first. And we can clean up eel some. You gotta be careful because if we hit that wet ink that's right there, we'll make a huge smudge. We don't want to do that. We've pretty much made it through this evening smudgeless. So we had one little smudge over here. So not smudgeless, smudge light. I said that and we smudged. I deserved it. It was challenging the smudge. And it took its revenge. Let's just do a dab like this. That'll give us a soft surface. What do you do at the Undersea Casino? You come for the wings, you stay for the singing eel. Come back in with our white plastic eraser. And again, there's not a lot of background on this page because there's so much dialogue and singing. There's so many singing balloons. But let's go in here with this and fix those 2 smudges that I brought upon myself by saying we didn't smudge. And then I do want to sure up this line here. It's broken and I don't want it to be broken. A broken line here for some reason. There we go. Now that is a damn fine singing moray eel. Look at that. Ended on a high note. There we go. There's our prelim. And you can see that just because, yeah, an eel, yeah, to call your own. Anyway, I hope everybody has a good 4th of July. Michael says he wants to get into pigmented inks for coloring. Well, good luck, man. It's hard to find ones that don't that are light fast. That's one of the reasons I stick with watercolors. But for all those who are enjoying the 4th of July, I hope you have a happy and safe holiday. And everyone else, I hope you have a great weekend too. And I hope to see you next week. Hopefully, this will be done. And have a good night. Bye.